My husband had to travel for work this week, so it is just my 3-year-old little girl and me at home. So I wanted to share with you what we eat in a week when it's just the two of us.
1, 2, 3.
My husband and I were together for 7 years before we had our child, so I know that cooking for 2 people can be a little bit complicated, but I know for sure that cooking for 1 adult and a small child is even trickier. So during this week when it's just the 2 of us, I am trying to keep things really simple. And I'm also relying a lot on extras and leftovers to feed us throughout the week because I don't want to cook all week for just the 2 of us. So we are starting with some pizza spirals. I have some sourdough pizza dough that I made. I'll leave a link in the description box below for that recipe, but it was frozen and I put it out earlier in the day to thaw, and I'm simply just rolling it out into a rectangle-ish shape. I found that one of the tricks for rolling out dough into a rectangle or whatever shape you want really is to not just rely on the rolling pin, but also use your hands to shape it too. I feel like that's a step that kind of is missed on YouTube sometimes because of editing, because it's not very exciting, but use your hands to shape it if you need to. And then I'm simply just assembling this like a pizza. So I'm shredding some mozzarella and then putting pizza sauce right onto the dough. Now my little girl helped me put the pizza sauce on, and if you own a pizza shop and you need someone to, put some sauce on some dough, I have your go-to girl. She did such a good job. She rubbed it in so much that the dough got really soggy, but it was still really delicious. I'm also trying to sneak some vegetables into this pizza, so I'm chopping up some spinach, and then I'm just assembling this like I would any other pizza. So sauce, cheese, spinach. I also put a little bit of shaved Parmesan on, which you'll see here. My sous chef over here started eating my ingredients instead of helping me assemble it, but that's okay. Now, in the past, I've really enjoyed homemade mozzarella on pizza, but I have not had time to make homemade mozzarella, and I definitely don't have time to make homemade mozzarella this week when it is just the 2 of us at home. So use whatever mozzarella you have on hand. I have found, though, that if you take a regular block of mozzarella and shred it, it tastes better than the pre-shredded kind in the bag. And of course, you could add whatever toppings or ingredients that you want. I just didn't have a lot on hand, and I didn't want to do any real grocery shopping this week since it was just the 2 of us, but you could put pepperoni in there, peppers, onions, whatever you like on pizza, you can put in a pizza spiral. But as you'll see in a minute, we're gonna roll in slices, so I would recommend chopping your ingredients pretty small. Now, I am rolling this just like you would say like a sourdough cinnamon roll or something. So I'm rolling it into a pizza log essentially, and not doing a very good job because there is sauce everywhere on here. And then I'm simply just taking a serrated knife and slicing it into little circles or little wheels. I think I got about like 12 little pizza spirals out of this. You can slice them as thick or as thin as you want, but I'd say about 1 inch thick is probably good just to minimize how long you have to bake it. And I'm putting this on a preheated baking stone. I preheated the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Now I had to readjust some of these spirals a little bit because the dough was pretty worked from my daughter putting the sauce on, but these are pretty easy to deal with and to fix. So if they're a little bit loose, you can just tighten them up a little bit as you're putting them on the stone or the baking sheet, whatever you're cooking them on, and they'll be totally fine. And then pop them in the oven for about, I'd say 15 to 20 minutes, but it really depends on how thick you slice them. So I check on them at 15 minutes and then every 5 minutes after that until they are done. This ended up being a little messier than I had anticipated, but that is okay because we had a lot of fun making these together. But this is just a reminder that when you are cooking from scratch, one thing that can be helpful is to clean as you go. And I'm not always great at this because I get a little wrapped up and I feel pulled in a couple different directions. But normally my husband and I split up the cooking, the cleanup, bedtime, bath time duties, but it was all on me this week, so I just had to make sure I had things clean as I go. I am just checking the center of the pizza spirals to make sure they are cooked through, and this was about 20 minutes, I think. I really like to use up leftovers when it's just the 2 of us, and I had some leftover carrot sticks in the refrigerator, so I used those as a side, but I also made them into like a little XOXO arrangement on her plate just to make things kind of cute, kind of fun, and also a little educational for her dinner, and it was a hit.
Oh, look, X's.
Do you see any O's? Yes!
Spirals.
Yes. And these were really good. I actually think I like them a little bit better than a regular pizza. You can see they're really cheesy. I was making a huge mess, a bigger mess than my 3-year-old, by the way. But these were delicious. And we ate these for lunch the next day and a little bit for dinner too. So that's one thing I really like to do generally all the time, but especially when it's just the two of us, because I don't want to cook 3 times a day just for us. And meals with a 3-year-old can be hit or miss, and she loved these, so there was no sense in making something different when I knew that she would definitely eat these. Breakfast can be a little bit trickier, and that's the case no matter what, whether it's just the 2 of us or all 3 of us, because our mornings move really fast. My daughter goes to a private Montessori school, and so I have to get out the door pretty quickly in the mornings to get her to school. So sometimes I don't even really get breakfast until I get home. Now, I know avocado toast is like the breakfast of all breakfasts for a lot of people, but I'm going to suggest that you skip the avocado toast and try mashed pea toast. Just hear me out. I promise you, it's really good. On the stove, I am steaming some frozen peas, so just a little bit of water, cover it, and let them cook until they're bright green and cooked through, but not overcooked. And once they're cooked, what I'm doing too is I'm taking out a pretty big serving for my daughter to eat later because she loves peas. She won't eat them the way that I'm making them for my toast, but she'll definitely eat them like that. Once your peas are cooked to your liking, just mash them up about halfway. I like having some raw peas and some mashed peas. And here, I'm just slicing a lemon and I'm squeezing half of the lemon over the peas. Of course, the lemon adds some acid to this, which is really delicious, but it also brightens up the flavor a little bit for spring with the peas. It's a really great breakfast for spring. So then I'm adding in a little bit of salt and then a little bit of diced red onion. I really like to not overdo the red onion here because just having like a little bite of it here and there makes it really good. And also I don't need like red onion breath for the rest of the day either, but I do recommend putting like a tablespoon of diced red onion in there. I should note by the time I'm putting the lemon and the onion in, the heat is off because I don't really want to cook the onion. I want the peas to be cooked and the onion to be raw. And now I'm just switching over to my cast iron skillet where I am making some sourdough toast. I did not bake bread this week. I bake bread almost every single week, but because it was just the 2 of us, I baked bread the week prior. I think it was on like a Friday or a Saturday I baked bread. So that way I'd have a little bit left over for us during the following week, but I'm just using up what's left of the bread from the week before. And that's a good reminder that you don't have to bake bread every week. I like to bake bread every week, but I actually don't do it all the time, and you don't have to either. So if it doesn't fit into your schedule or your routine, don't sweat it. Use leftovers or just skip it altogether. Once the toast is done, I'm adding a little bit of mayo. Now, I know a lot of you like homemade mayo, but I can never get through homemade mayo fast enough before it goes bad, so I tend to not make that very regularly. I also know mayo is polarizing, so you can skip this part, but I'm adding a little bit of mayo to my toast, and then I am simply topping my toast with the peas. Now, this is a little messy to eat. It doesn't stay together like avocado toast does, so have a fork and a napkin on hand, but this is one of my all-time favorites. I made enough peas, so I ate this for breakfast every day during this week. My daughter's definitely not going to eat pea toast for breakfast, so I'm also making something for her to have for breakfast. She likes to eat, she calls them chocolate bars. They're actually Cashew bars. Those things can get like really expensive, especially at the rate at which we can eat them. So we are making our own homemade cashew bars this week for her to snack on and to have for breakfast. So this is a chocolate chip cookie dough flavor, and these were really good, by the way, just a spoiler alert. You'll just need some dates, cashews, chocolate chips, a little bit of vanilla, and a pinch of salt. To get started, simply just count out a few dates and then soak them in warm water for a few minutes, really while you're preparing the other ingredients. We used 6 dates for this, and even though she really liked them, I actually thought they were a little bit too sweet. I think the next time what I'm going to do is just use 3 dates, and then I might add in some of those freeze-dried apples that I shared on YouTube a few weeks ago. I'll leave a link for that blog and the YouTube video in the description box below, but I think that apples will add a little bit of sweetness and some depth of flavor without making it too sweet like 6 dates did. Just pour some warm water over them and set them aside while you prepare the rest of the ingredients. I think I measured out about 1.5 cups of raw cashews to make this. Honestly, you could use whatever nut you want. Peanuts would be totally fine too. She has a peanut allergy, so we are a complete peanut-free household, but we can have tree nuts, which I'm super thankful for, by the way. Peanut allergy is a bum, but at least we can have all other nuts. So we are using raw cashews. And I'm dumping the cashews right into the food processor, and I am processing them on high for a few minutes. You don't want this to turn into a cashew butter, but you do want it to get close. So you want it to be grainy, but where the grains aren't actually turning into a butter, but they do stick together. So you can see here they're sticking together, but I still have sort of like a fine sand-like texture. Then just add in a little bit of vanilla. I actually put in too much vanilla in this, so I would recommend just maybe like a 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla and a pinch of salt into your food processor, and just pulse it a few times to mix those ingredients in. And then simply add the dates into the mixture. Just make sure you drain out as much water as you can. It's okay if a little bit of water gets in there, but you definitely don't want to soak the cashew mixture. Then run this through your food processor until those dates are chopped up and everything is combined. Then after that, I put this into a bowl and folded in a few chocolate chips because that's like the best part, of course. And also my daughter was like begging me the whole time to open the chocolate chips. Bless her little heart. I did break down and give her some because I thought if she asked me one more time, I was gonna lose my mind just a little bit. The mixture's a little bit thick, so I tried to use a silicone spatula to stir in the chocolate chips, but actually that didn't work that well. And I found the best way to actually mix this together in the end was just to get my hands in there and start mixing the chocolate chips into the rest of the ingredients. These are mini chocolate chips. Personally, I would have preferred a better quality chocolate chip, but for whatever reason, the chocolate chip selection was really low at the grocery store that day, so I just got whatever I could. And I recommend you do the same thing too. Get the best quality that you can or whatever you have access to. I try not to get too wrapped up in recommending that you get organic or super expensive food products because I know that budgets and access are real, so just get what you have access to, get what you can afford, and enjoy cooking. It took me a couple tries to find the right dish to make these. The white dish I'm using here, that was too big, so the bars would have been really thin. And then I'm using this little smaller bread pan, and that one was actually too small. The bars would have been thick, but luckily I have a larger matching bread pan, and that one was just right. So I recommend if you're just making one batch of these to use just a regular bread pan, and that will make your bars about the appropriate size. Then just mash them in there. The next time I make these, I'm going to see if I can find a tool, whether it's just like the bottom of a heavy glass or something, to smash these a little bit harder. They actually sell like bar kits that you can use where it really presses them, which probably is helpful, but that's just like one more thing sitting around my house. So I do recommend in hindsight using something to really mash these down into your pan because they'll stay together a little bit better. Then when you're ready, just cover them with a little bit of plastic wrap and stick them in the fridge for 2 hours until they're chilled, or put them in the freezer for like 30 or 45 minutes. And while you wait, eat some chocolate chips. Now, my daughter likes to feed me these little chocolate chips, but that, my friends, is how you get all sorts of respiratory viruses. I mean, I know they're airborne, but let me tell you, toddlers' hands, they carry a lot of really weird germs. But anyway, after everything is chilled, just slice them up and enjoy them the way you would any other bar. These tasted a lot like chocolate chip cookie dough, and they were a huge hit with my 3-year-old. She had them for breakfast the rest of the week and for snacks too, so these were great for us to have around the house while it was just the two of us. We are a very normal, busy, modern family, so sometimes I don't get around to making meals, and that's okay. I try not to make a habit out of fast food, but during this week, we did run to Chick-fil-A because we had gone to the botanical gardens and the park, and it got late, and she was hungry and crying, and the easiest thing for us to do was to go get some chicken nuggets, and that's what we did. And again, I try not to make a habit out of that, but once in a while, it's totally fine, especially when it's just us girls at home. Because I work really hard day in, day out to cook for my family, to build a YouTube channel, to build a blog, to be a mom and do all the things. I'm totally fine with taking a night off once in a while and getting some chicken nuggets. And I'm not saying you have to go get fast food, but I hope you offer yourself the gift of taking the evening off when you can. My apologies for the really dark lighting. This was actually like maybe 12:30 in the afternoon, but it was a really stormy day this day, so it's super dark in my house. But after I picked my daughter up from school, I wanted to make sure we used up some of that leftover bread, so I made her some homemade French toast sticks with freeze-dried eggs. You could totally use fresh eggs for this, of course, but freeze-dried works really great for things like French toast. So I just sliced up the leftovers of that sourdough bread and made them into little sticks for her, soaked them in a little bit of egg, and cooked them on my cast iron skillet. She really doesn't like things like cinnamon and maple syrup, so I didn't flavor it at all. And that worked out really well because I had leftover eggs that I used to make an egg drop soup. And that's a good tip that I have, is that when you're making one thing for your child, because sometimes they want something else to eat, how can you use those same ingredients for something for yourself? Because I don't want to make two things necessarily. I mean, technically, of course, I am making two things, but I don't want to have to make any extra ingredients. I think this tastes the best when you use homemade chicken bone broth, but I didn't have any, so I just used boxed broth from Costco. I brought it to a boil, slowly stirred in the leftover eggs, and I had a delicious pot of soup. Now, this is a super simple egg drop soup. I do know that technically egg drop soup has a lot more ingredients, but I'm not in the mood for that. So keeping it really simple. I think I added in a little bit of soy sauce too, just for some extra flavor. This super simple egg drop soup was actually a recipe that I, of course, know, but I was reminded of from the YouTube channel From Scratch Farmstead. If you haven't watched it, I recommend. She has some really great quick recipes, and I saw her make egg drop soup the other day, and I was like, oh yeah, duh, I should do that. I've made that before, and I kind of forgot about it. And we did not cook much more than this during the week. We ate leftovers and snacked on these things all week long and kept things really simple. And I hope this inspires you to keep your cooking simple too.